Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and I'm here with a book video, of course. I feel like I've kind of been going off with the book videos lately, which normally I'm not going off on. I kind of tried to get dressed up for this video. I was wearing like a cute top, but then I decided to change and wear my wolf shirt. Fun fact about me is I love like graphic tees like this, where mainly like wolves, or there's some like cute fairy kind of ones, or kind of just like animal ones, low-key. I decided to wear my wolf shirt because it kind of gives the vibes of a lot of the books I've been reading in the past May, June, which is what this video is about. It is a May-June book wrap-up. In May I read 2 books, and in June I read 14 books, because in May I wouldn't say I was really in a slump, but I kind of was. But also I just didn't have a lot of time to read that month. I guess I was just like really focused on school. I don't know, I just didn't really want to get into a series. Like, I didn't want to invest my time in the series at that moment because of school. So that's kind of why I was in a slump, which was really tough for me, because if I don't read for a long while, I start like going crazy. Not really, but kind of. Like, I start dreaming about things and people, and I hate it because sometimes it manifests into me thinking I like them. I don't know, it puts me in an uncomfortable position, okay? That sounds dramatic, and it's because it is, and also because I don't like feeling those emotions. So that is why I read. I said that I was wearing this werewolf shirt. It's giving what I read in the past 2 months, and that's because a lot of them are dark romances. I don't know what I was on, and a lot of them are involving alpha male type characters, kind of toxic characters, honestly, and they're just easy for me to read. You know what? Sue me, okay? A girl can't have her interest. A girl can't like what she likes. A girl can't like dark romance. These aren't as dark, honestly, as a lot of some other books, but these are like some light dark romances. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting with May, I read 2 books, and those 2 books being part of a series, the Alliance series, which has 4 books in the series total. So the first 2 that I read them out of order. I don't know why. I just found the 4th book first, so I read it from like last to beginning. So the first book I read was Hans by S.J. Tilly. So I rated this book a 3 out of 5 stars and a 3 out of 5 steam. Yeah, it was pretty average steam. You would think there would be a lot of steam, which is kind of why I picked up this book personally, but there wasn't. I was kind of a little bit disappointed, but overall I enjoyed the story. This book I wasn't like expecting the whole world to be like this, so it was kind of interesting. This book is more darker and deeper than the rest of the series. Hans is about the male main character Hans and the female main character Cassie. They happen to be neighbors, and Cassie always sees her neighbor right across, always sees him, and kind of gets obsessed with him, or likes him, and wants to talk to him. So she tries to like talk to him all the time, but he's barely home or avoids her. And so one time, accidentally, she had a risque photo shoot, and those photos accidentally got sent to his house, and that's kind of where the story jumps off of him trying not to like her liking him a lot. And then it goes deeper into why he can't, because he has his own mission, a kind of like a subplot. Honestly, no, it's the main plot. No, main plot is the romance. Subplot is the behind the scenes of his job. In the intro, it says Hans is a dangerous man is because he has a dangerous job, and it deals with some traumatizing stuff. Read the trigger warnings, of course, for any type of dark romances you want to get into. It was just really interesting to hear about. I guess the conclusion of the series overall, after I read the rest of the series, and then thinking about this book, it does kind of wrap up the whole storyline pretty well. I completely forgot I wanted to hold this book while I was talking about the books. Do I want to do that though? Like, that seems hard. I will do that. Okay, imagine I was holding up this cover up the whole time. I know you could barely see it because it is like the dark black and white version on the Kindle. The last book I read in May was Nero by S.J. Tilly. This is book 1 in the Alliance series. So I rated this a 4 out of 5 stars and probably a 3 out of 5 steam. Honestly, I kind of don't remember. I guess I really liked this book. Ugh, it's so hard for me to do reviews sometimes because I just don't remember books if it's not that memorable, but I rated this a 4 out of 5 stars, so so like it should be good to remember, right? Our male main character, Nero, is considered crazy, the craziest out of all the characters. He has like something off about him, a little unkiltered, you could say. He basically stalks the female main character, which I'm not really a fan of the stalking trope, so it's like rejogging my memory as I'm like talking about this book right now. I'm still kind of surprised I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I remember this book now. Okay, so the plot is basically Nero, after one of his pastimes, he goes to this girl's balcony, which is the female main character. Peyton is on her balcony and her door is unlocked. I don't know. She becomes intrigued with him even though she broke into his house. The way I'm describing this sounds off, and I'm also like, did I mean to rate this a 4 out of 5? But it probably gets better compared to how I described it. But anyways, okay, that's basically the moral of the story. He kind of has to protect her because people start realizing how obsessed he is with her, and that's kind of the gist of the book. Okay, I decided not to be holding my Kindle anymore because that was kind of dumb. I feel like you could barely see it. There was like a glare. Now we're on to June. I read 12 books, starting with King by S.J. Tilley. It's the second book in the Alliance series. My rating of this book is a 3 out of 5 stars and probably a 3 out of 5 Steam. Don't really remember, but maybe it was 2 out of 5. 2.5 out of 5. Somewhere kind of in between there. So the premise of the story is a little bit more intriguing compared to the rest of the series, kind of involving their love story, their romance. The plot of this story is that the female main character is kind of dating this guy. She doesn't really like him, but they have a date. But her friend has an emergency, so the female main character brings her friend has an emergency that the female main character has to go over there and help her or something like that. And the female main character has to bring her date with her to the friend's house, and coincidentally another one of her friends is there, or co-worker, something like that, her friend's co-worker, and she brings her brother, which is the main male character, King. I feel like that was a little hard to imagine. So they meet. It turns out that boyfriend, that date she has, is actually married to the male main character's sister. So kind of starts off on bad terms. There's like a initial liking and then, hating because you think kind of she's like a homewrecker, but she didn't know and she wanted to break things off. She needed to pick something up at the boyfriend or her date's house, now ex. So she goes over there, but turns out King, the male main character, got there before her and did his thing, if you know what I mean. And she sees that, and King kind of has to keep her because she saw the crime and he doesn't trust her, which, okay, I don't know why I'm having that all in quotes, but that's kind of how the story progresses. It's kind of like the most intriguing, interesting romance plot they have in the whole series, but it was my least favorite book because I just wasn't really vibing with it. Next book I read is Dom, S.J. Tilley. It is the third book in the series. It is my least favorite compared to that last one. The last one was this one was even but this story, Dom, I rated a 2 out of 5 stars. Steam is average. Basically, this is kind of an enemies to lovers. Male main character, Dom, pretends to be all these things for the female main character, and she is related to someone in the Alliance, which is the title of the series. The Alliance basically overall is a group of these men, kind of organized crime vibes where nobody messes with them. They're like a strong, powerful unit. They're not really family. They're just like a group of friends that decided to come together and form this alliance, as you could call it. The female main character of this story is related to someone in the Alliance. Someone from the outside wants to join the Alliance for personal reasons. So he pretends to be someone else, and it was like all planned out how they meet and everything, and their love story progresses. In general, I do like these types of stories, like with this premise where someone's kind of in a disguise and has their own ulterior motive for wanting to be together. But the way this book went about it was very disturbing and did not enjoy. It was really sad, actually. Not really fun to read because of those facts, which very vague. Should I just say it? Because it's not that good of a book. I'm gonna say it. I don't think anyone's gonna read these books, honestly. So, spoiler alert, also trigger warning. Basically, the way Dom goes about this is he does pretend to be somebody he isn't, kind of, for the most part. And he really, says these things that he knows she likes to get her to fall in love with him. They coincidentally end up in Vegas together, and she gets drugged kidnapped by him so that they could go to the altar and get married. So then he is officially a part of the alliance. Is that a spoiler? Kind of. But it happens kind of in the beginning of the book. But it's just crazy how that goes about. Didn't really enjoy that book at all, okay? So then I decided, because the alliance series didn't really fill my need, so I decided to read God of Wrath by Rena Kent, which I rated a 3.5 stars out of 5 and a 4 steam, and I did say in parentheses intense, so I'm guessing the steam is intense. God of Wrath is a part of a series which I've read piece by piece of. It is book 3 in the Legacy of God series. I did enjoy this book quite a bit compared to her other books. Before I get into the summary of the book, I wanted to say a quote from the book that I highlighted, which I normally don't highlight quotes as much. I'm trying to get more into it, but sometimes things I'm like, okay. But this one, she's the gray, she's the color, she's every rainbow I never thought to stop and watch. Yep. I don't really know how to describe this book. Kind of a enemies to lovers, part of separate schools. Kind of get to know these characters throughout the other books in the series, but you don't have to read the other books in the series. Like, a lot of the time, I feel like these books could be a standalone, which I kind of view them as. I will say the male main character is obsessed with the female main character. The female main character has gone through things and has things she needs to go through, but I did enjoy this book. That's all I have to say about that book. There's not really much I could describe without giving it away. The next book I read is Joey by Sadie Kincaid. 3.5 out of 5 stars, 5 out of 5 spice. It's a brother's best friend trope, bodyguard type. Oh my god, a lot of these books are kind of meshing together in my mind because they're so similar. They were kind of just like enemies to lovers, or like dark romance, forbidden romance, things of that nature. Naive, inexperienced female main character being taught by the male main character. So I will say that's kind of the vibes this book is giving, okay? So I don't really want to get into it. Honestly, I like book wrap-up videos, but I struggle with them. Like, I'm not good at them. You should just read the summary for yourselves, honestly, if you want some dark romances, okay? I'm terrible at this. Should I post this? Anyways, let's just zoom through this. So the next book I read is Lorenzo, again by the same author, because it is a series. It is book 3 in the series. I guess I didn't want to read the first book. It just didn't sound appealing to me. So I rated Lorenzo a 2.5 out of 5 actually, and a 5 steam. So if you do want steam, this series / author is for you. So I have a quote highlighted. "You might have lost yourself in me, but I found myself in you." Really good quote for me giving a 2.5 out of 5. The male main character, he has gone through a loss in his life, and he has promised never to love again, but then he can't help himself when he meets the female main character, but denies it, and they go through a lot. I think I kind of like the idea of the story, but just like the execution of the story was kind of mid. Next I read was Vicious Prince by Rena Kent, which I rated a 4 out of 5 stars and a 3 out of 5 steam. So I really enjoyed myself with this book because basically the summary of the story is the female main character comes from a very involved family, the mafia world. They're opposing rival families, and she gets herself into an arranged marriage with the male main character, and it goes from there. And I really enjoyed their story. I have some highlights. Let's read them. I want every bit of your craziness. Okay, with the way I'm saying it, it's like not good, okay? But just like imagine the scenario, okay? But you don't know what to imagine, but imagine a scenario that this needs to be said. He gets down bad for her eventually, if you like stuff like that. She falls first, he falls harder, if you know what I mean. Book 5 of a series called The Royal Elite. Next I read book 6 of the Royal Elite series called Ruthless Empire by Rena Kent, which I rated a 3 out of 5 stars. Probably a 3 out of 5 steam too. It's a forbidden romance, and the female main character has this front, which is not real, I guess. The male main character who's obsessed with her. That's really all I could remember, and I think that is worth mentioning with this book. They've known each other for a little bit. I forget, honestly. Okay, next we get into the Kingmaker series, which was unexpected for me to read. I was not expecting to read this series after reading Brutal Birthright series. So basically the Kingmaker series is a spin-off to the Brutal Birthright series, kind of involving the kids of those characters. Kingmakers is a school that the mafia sends their heirs to, or not even just the heirs, it could be any one of the kids who are going to be involved in the organization. They send them to that school where they train to know all about these things, and it's supposed to be neutral vibe. No one can kill each other or anything, so it's supposed to be a really safe place for these kids to learn these things. So the first book involves a childhood friends to lovers, where we have our female main character Anna and our male main character Leo. At the beginning of the book, they're excited to go off to school, to the college, not college, to go to Kingmakers. There's a little unease, things have been changing between them, so there is tension, and then once they get to school, that tension breaks. They have little conflict. I feel like this story I really did enjoy. Sometimes I'm not really into reading friends to lovers stories as much, but this one I felt the same way, which is why I was like, I'm kind of iffy about this first book, but I did enjoy it. But if you do like friends to lovers, then this is a pretty good story because they discover themselves and discover each other. And there's also kind of a love triangle that will go on. Didn't read book 2 of the series, but I read book 3, which was Dean's story, which I am obsessed with. He is mentioned in book 1. He is that third wheel, kind of involved, but not really. But he has his redemption arc in this story. It was really interesting how she went about his character. I did enjoy his overall characterization and redemption arc. In book 2, something happened. I don't know what, because I didn't read it, but I got from the gist. Something happened to the female main character's in this story's sister, something she had to do, so she has a secret, but the only person who knows this secret is Dean, the male main character, and he wasn't even supposed to know. So in return, to keep her secret, Dean, they make a bargain. She basically has to be his assistant, slave thing, whatever, be at his beck and call, and things just progress from there. Book 4 in the series is called The Spy, which kind of is the start of the series going a little crazy. Like, it's not really school involved, it's not really school focused, it's kind of like outside world focused. So there's a spy in the university, or in the school, Kingmakers, which I won't say who or what. Find out who the spy is and their motives, and you really wouldn't expect who the spy is. The spy sees his target, the daughter of a man he wants revenge against, so he thought the easiest way is to kind of get close to her, at least get closer to her to gain information, if not to use her as a bargain. This book was kind of fun in the sense that they have a mission to go to, which is a little bit more serious. It was really interesting. So then we go on to book 5 of the series, which is now where we're totally not in the school. The progression of this story in book 5 is really weird. I like this book a lot less than the other one, so I guess even though there's both twos, the Savage, book 5 would be here, book 4 would be here. It revolves one of the characters we've talked about and seen before. She meets the male main character. They have like kind of a whirlwind romance, a little tiny bit. They are obsessed with each other. There's an age gap. Sometimes it's fine, but this time it wasn't fine because you could tell their maturity levels. And I thought I was gonna really like these two characters together and really like her, the female main character, and him too, but they go through a lot of things throughout the whole story. And then again, it doesn't really involve Kingmaker, like that setting, which is why the point of why I got into the series is because I like that setting. I don't know, I was like kind of skipping through because I was like, man, because the female main character was immature and annoying. Male main character too was also annoying. It was crazy, okay? I'll say it's crazy and toxic, kind of like Joker and Harley Quinn. Okay, so then, in between that series, I read Dirty Bad, which I rated a 3 out of 5 stars and a 5 out of 5 steam. This is a really nasty book, so if you really want steam, this is it. This author in general. Okay, so basically, there's these two co-workers, female main character, male main character. They kind of have some tension going on, okay, but ultimately decide they shouldn't get together because of work policies, and then the male main character has trauma from the past where he did get with a co-worker and things ended very badly. So there's that aspect of the plot, and then another aspect of the plot is they kind of have different personas. They want to get into this club, if you know what I mean, where it's dirty, bad, and wrong, if you know what I mean. Anyway, so there's that going on. Like, they don't know each other's personalities. It's not really involving this second plotline where they don't know each other's identities, because it is known pretty kind of early on and they had to navigate that. Pretty decent book for there being a lot of steam. Second to last book I read, there was a little bit in time between these series, or these books that I read. I was kind of tired of, they started kind of getting repetitive, the dark romance, the mafia, the organized crime, crime, the possessiveness, the stalking was getting repetitive, and I was getting tired of it. So I took a little break and then was like, okay, time to have something a little bit lighter. And this book is not really light, but it is lighter compared to the rest. No, this had a lot of emotional depth, okay? Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Again, I've seen it on TikTok, and people are like, oh, when you think you're getting yourself into a cute summer read and then you're like crying. Literally me, but I knew that going in that something emotional was going to be happening. So it had a lot of depth and emotion for this book compared to like all those other ones I read. I rated this book 3.5 stars out of 5 and then like 0 steam, which is fine because I was trying to cleanse myself. You've probably heard so much about this book if you are involved in the book community, book talk community, booktube community. It was an anticipated release for a lot of people, but I will give my 2 cents now on it. This book is about Justin, the male main character, has this curse where he dates people, they break up, and then the next person that other person dates, they end up marrying, and it's happened a few times. So he posts about it on Reddit, right? Female main character, Emma, has this same exact thing happen to her, and she sees that Reddit post, they connect, things go on from there. That's kind of the plot line they hook you in with, right? That is a subplot, because the main plot, it goes really deep. It like hooks your heart, they're like sinks your claws into your heart and like yanks it out, is basically dealing with parental abandonment, abuse, trauma, but in the sense that it's more like neglect and not like physical abuse. Deals with that and how that forms your attachment style. That is a really main premise for the story, specifically for the female main character Emma in navigating relationships. I wish there was a little bit more romance. I know there's romance was subtle and Justin is kind of more of a acts of service king, which I do enjoy, but I wish it kind of made it a little bit more obvious, like having Emma be like, oh my god, it's because he remembers. But I guess that could be a little bit overkill, but it would be nice for it to be like kind of more like highlighted, like having a spotlight on like the romance rather than it just like involving, which is kind of like real life, I guess more realistic. I want to read a book for giddy feelings, but I really enjoyed it. But this next book, which is the last book, which is Wild Love by Elsie Silver in the Rose Hill series, is book 1 so far. Book 2 comes out in September, which I'm really excited about. But anyways, let's get into this book. This book was, to me, a lot better just because there was more emphasis on the romance. So I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars. And was there any steam? Probably not really. If anything, it'll be like 1 to 2 steams out of 5. This story is basically a brother's best friend. The male main character, Ford, a billionaire, but he doesn't really show it or act like it. So he's kind of just like a regular guy, just has like a lot of money, which he uses wisely kind of, or at least I don't really know how to describe it. It's like not in a bad way, like he uses it for the good of the people, for what he enjoys to do. Something ends up happening that kind of changes his life per se, but it was honestly kind of seemed like a little bit easy transition for him to do. And then also the female main character comes back into town. Her name is Rosie. She has left the small town to go to the city, but things are happening in the city that are not good for her. So she has to escape that situation, comes back to her small town, reconnects with Ford. They kind of end up working together. Things progress from there. I just really love their banter. For me, what Just for the Summer was missing was in this book, like the acts of service, because Ford is an acts of service man. Even, I don't know if that's really my love language, so that's why I'm like, eh. The way it went about in this book specifically is more like highlighted, which is what I wanted. I really enjoyed that, and I just really enjoyed their story overall. It felt like a romance story, which I really wanted. Oh my god, I'm like remembering this book all over again. It was so good. Like, Ford, the man that he is, goals. But I'm not in love with him, but I do love him. You know what I mean? Okay, so one of his like acts of service thing, I have a quote. This is like subtle, but still like emphasized enough. Ford goes, "I flew them in for you. That was my errand. Have fun." Quick and easy throwaway line. So good. That was it. That is all the books I read in May and June. That is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. I do enjoy these types of videos, but I don't think I'm personally good at making these types of videos. Comment down below any book recommendations you have for me, like maybe a dark romance. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, TikTok at It's Kelly David. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Peace out. Bye!